what do we have to be aware of in main point questions? What makes the wrong answers wrong? Abby, you remember? Too strong. Okay, let's broaden that just a little bit to inaccurate. Anything that's inaccurate or too strong. Yep. And do you remember the other ones that are usually wrong? Okay. Anyone?
It's just like a premise or like just like one sentence.
Exactly. So they tend to be too narrow or they tend to be inaccurate. So as I was going through these, why can we get rid of A? Actual trials. Nope, it was simulated trials. Out.
Legal scholars.
Factually inaccurate. What?
Also legal scholars. Legal scholars.
Conducted by psychologists and legal scholars. Yeah, who was it conducted by? And that's kind of a vague term, but yeah, another problem, probably. Okay, what's wrong with B? Too narrow or inaccurate?
Isn't it
narrow.
too narrow?
Okay, too narrow because it seems to be coming from right the very end of the passage. This is like the last thought. It also seemed
predict, like they don't talk about
the jurors' attitudes. Yeah, like I underlined that. I was like, wait, is that exactly what they were talking about, or are they just talking about information you couldn't spin? Right. I guess that kind of relates to predicting how the jurors are going to respond to that. But either way, it's too narrow. Answer choice C. I thought this was too narrow. So my first run through, I put N next to it. That's my little sign for too narrow. And I was like, okay, moving on. Because I felt this left out a key component. What was the key component?
simulation.
The simulations. Oh, wait, the simulations?
The limitations.
Oh, it does leave out the simulations. It also leaves out what?
The limitations.
The limitations at the very end, right? Like that's a big takeaway from this. Like, oh, maybe you shouldn't spin information that's just too negative. I don't know what you do then, though. You got to bring it up, I think. Or just wait until your opponent brings it up and they're like, yeah, that's true. I don't know. Maybe this is a horrible limitation. But anyways, I thought this was too narrow. So I was like, okay, yada, let's move on. I didn't cross it out, but I thought it was too narrow. D, what makes this wrong? Is this too narrow or inaccurate?
Inaccurate.
I feel like it's inaccurate and narrow, right? It's narrow, but it's also like information to be revealed is too readily available. Too readily available. I think they don't know about it, and the question is, is it gonna be revealed by you or your opponent? So I felt like this was an inaccurate description of what's going on, so I got rid of that one. E, inaccurate or too narrow?
Inaccurate.
Yeah, research designed to confirm the usefulness of stealing thunder. That would be the simulated trials, if anything, right? Has identified the general limitations of the strategy's effectiveness? No, those were two totally separate things. The limitations, or the simulated trials were mentioned up at the beginning. The limitations were mentioned at the end. Mere speculation by the author, right? So I felt like this was not accurate. So then I went back with C, because even though C is narrow, at least it's not inaccurate, right? Inaccurate is more severe of a problem than too narrow. Questions on this one? Which ones were we debating? Just curious. C and E. Okay. Wait, what? E? Is that what you guys said?
Yes.
C and E. Okay. Are you cool with E being inaccurate?
Yeah.
Okay. Chase, you're not.
I mean, I'm gonna move on and accept it.
You're just gonna move. Oh no, we need to figure it out. What do you? You don't have to just accept things. Yeah.
Well, I actually, when I just reread it, it says research designed to confirm.
Yep.
It doesn't say whether or not it was research done to confirm. He just says that this research was done.
Oh, so yeah. So if we give it the benefit of the doubt, then it has to be referring to those simulated trials, right? But you're saying that it might not even be referring to that.
Right, because it's
Yeah.
simulated trials. Yeah.
Well, so the question is, when they did those simulated trials, did they do those in an effort
It's
to...
just not said.
It's not set.
Yeah.
It could have been just like, oh, by the way. Now, I don't think it's totally unreasonable to think that maybe they were designed to test this.
Yeah.
But even if they were, they did not, at the very end of this answer, identify the general limitations of the strategy's effectiveness. That was the author's just like speculation at the end, right? So if those studies, Chase, are you cool with this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think it's the combination of those two things. If you accept the idea that these simulated trials were designed to test the effectiveness of stealing thunder, then we can't go so far as to say that those simulated trials have identified the limitations. Are you coming on board, or are you just gonna?
Oh, I see, okay, so trials might not have identified the limitations that the author
The author did.
did.
Yeah, but answer choice E is saying that the trials did.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. And then going back to Jerry's point, that's even if these trials were designed to do that. We're assuming they were. So we have to make two assumptions there. It's bad. Okay, any other questions on this one? Okay.